Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Literally Nothing But Everything podcast with your host, the one and only Mike Rispoli. So it's Easter weekend. Did you guys do anything fun to celebrate? Did you guys get together with your families? Did you guys go to church? It's really interesting the fact that every major Christian holiday, that's when all the churches are packed. But every other weekend, it's just like Night of the Living Dead in there. Oh my God, just a bunch of old people. And then you got like the couple random ones like me who are like young who tend to go because we actually practice the faith. It's actually kind of funny to me. Like, why do we tend to get days off for Christmas Eve and Christmas? But then for Good Friday, it's considered like a floating holiday for most corporations. Like, and then I think you have to prove that you have to prove it, right? Like, don't you have to prove that you're going to church or something so that way you can get the day off? I don't know. It's fucking bullshit, if you ask me. Like, I don't know. I wonder if we get the day off for Christmas because we've commercialized Christmas to the point so much that they're like, oh, all right, they did all their spending. They gave us all their money. Let's at least try and give them a day off. Because if you really think about it, like Easter is actually the more important holiday. Like that's the day that Christ rose, right? So that's the day that like kind of cemented the fact of what Christianity came to be. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I don't get it. I don't get why we don't really celebrate Easter. Like, what do we do for Easter? Right? We go out to brunch. You guys find another way to get your bottomless mimosas, get white girl wasted. Hey, well, Jesus turned water into wine, right? And he always said, drink and be merry. I mean, that's facts. Could you imagine if Jesus actually, instead of turning water into wine, he turned it into mimosas? Like, how much of a party that would be? Or imagine if he turned it into, like, hard shit, like, like vodka or whiskey. Yeah, but then there'd be a lot of fighting. But with the amount of wars that the Bible has on top of them, like crucifying Jesus, wouldn't that just be par for the course? Nobody seems to give a shit about violence back then. I mean, back in those days, gladiators were a thing. Yeah, gladiators were a thing, but meanwhile, they try and make football less violent. And I get it, the injuries and all that stuff. But you know what? Like, you don't think those players know what they're signing up for? You're getting paid millions of dollars to play a game. If you really wanted to, you should have done better in baseball. Like, they get paid more, and there's way less physicality to the game. So, I mean, hey, it's not our fault that you guys all decided to get into a violent sport. But it's all about aggression, right? Like, it's about getting your aggression out. Oh my God, the stupid banning of the hip drop tackle. Like, Pat McAfee said on his show, he's like, if we're just going to be going to flag football, like, just say it. Especially with, like, the kickoff rules, like, it just... I don't understand why defenses just become less and less of a thing. Like, to save offensive play, you're actually demoting defensive play. But if anybody truly likes football, you understand the importance of defense. Like, I understand that everybody wants to see points, but looking at what's going on with March Madness this year, like, I don't want to continuously just see, like, a blowout every time. Or honestly, I don't want to see just a ton of scoring because at that point it also gets kind of boring just seeing it just going back and forth. Like somebody who truly likes defenses, I think. If you truly like defense, like I love defense. Like say what you want about that Rams Pats Super Bowl back in 2018. I love that Super Bowl. Because then any offensive play made the game that much more exciting because you were just like, oh my God, is this going to be it? Like, is this the play that's going to end the game essentially? Like, I don't know, any offensive play during that Super Bowl. Now, granted, I'm a Pats fan, so I could be a little bit biased here. But I don't know, just every single play that happened, I was just on the edge of my seat. Like, the defense actually made the offense a little bit more exciting. Like, when things become too consistent, like, when you just see too much of something, you get bored of it, right? Like, it's like when you go to your favorite restaurant and you just always order the same thing. You get bored of the restaurant, no? Am I the only one that happens to? I don't know. But hopefully you guys all had a great Easter. Um, Hung out with the fam for a little bit. My sister got a new dog, so that was fun. We got to hang out with the puppy. And who doesn't love a puppy? I mean, they're just little bundles of joy. But it's so funny because my sister has now two golden retrievers, right? And I just remember that when she got her first dog, I was just like, holy shit, why the fuck would anybody want to get a golden? Like, these things are little crackheads. Like, they're just so happy all the time. They're so excited to see everything, but they're like, just, it was just bouncing off the walls. I was just like, why the hell would anybody want to deal with a dog with this much energy? But then my other sister has a boxer, so I was just like, holy shit. Like nothing compares to that dog. I mean, if my sister's Golden was on like coke, then my other sister's boxer was just a fucking meth head. Holy crap. But yeah, so but then she has this other Golden. She just got it. It's I don't know how old he is. I think he's like I don't know, maybe like a couple months old. I didn't bother to remember in all honesty. But this dog is the epitome of what I thought Goldens would be. He was calm, he was chill, and he was just like the cutest little thing. And it's funny because he's white. Like he's white with like a golden like kind of halo. Like he's got golden accents in his ears, and you can kind of see like the golden hue like going around his back or going off his back. So I thought that they should have named him Casper, because I mean, if this dog was any whiter, this thing could be found at a farmer's market yelling at the cashier because the pepper is too spicy. But, but I don't know. I this dog was just like the epitome of what I thought a golden would be, like kind of calm, cool, and collected, like really sweet dog. But even with that said, I still don't know if it's a dog that I would necessarily want to have for myself. Like, I don't know. I can't get past the hair. Like, as great as those dogs are, like, at a certain point, it's also a matter of, like, the maintenance of the dogs and having to, like, brush them all the time on top of, like, just all the hair getting all over the place. It's just, I don't know if it's the dog for me. And given how much of a meth head my other sister's dog is being a boxer, I definitely don't think I could ever own one of those dogs. I think if it were me, though, the dog that I would probably want. I grew up with a lab, so I'm super partial to labs. Like, I love those dogs. My friend has a lab, and it reminds me of the dog that I had growing up. So I would love to get a lab if I could. But another dog I always thought I would want is a Rottweiler. I dated a girl that had a Rottweiler mix. My mom actually used to have a Rottweiler when we were younger. And just like the sheer power of those dogs on top of like what they're capable of, like intelligence wise, and the look of them, I just absolutely love those dogs. I think that they could be great. But you know what? Let me pose the question to you guys. What are some of your favorite dogs that you've had, and what was it about the dog that made you absolutely fall in love with the breed? But I'll tell you what, um, given that it was Good Friday last Friday, I had an extra Good Friday because I was able to put in my 2 weeks last week, and Friday was when I officially got to say deuces bitches to my last job because your boy found a new gig. So no more part-time work for me. So that's actually I'm looking forward to that. But it will be a little bit of adjustment for me because I'm going from like pretty much full-time remote. I was only going into the office once a week anyways. So full-time remote going into a full-time gig that's in office all day, so or all week. So that'll be kind of an interesting little change of pace for me. But you know, being young and starting out in your career, I think it's important to work more in an office setting. I don't know. I feel like remote work just made me a little bit more lazy. Like it made me a little bit more lazy in the aspect of like a routine basis. Whereas like instead of waking up at I don't know, my job would start at 9. So instead of waking up at like 7 trying to get a workout in or whatever, I would wake up at like right before my day was supposed to start. Like if my day started at 9 or when I was supposed to be working from home, it was supposed to start at 8:30. So if it started at 8:30, I was waking up at 8:29. Like I was like, fuck that. I'm staying in bed until I like have to get up. So, and then it wasn't the fact of like nobody being around me that made me like lazy, but it was also just like the fact of like just always being home. The procrastination just became real. Like I was just always in the like the mindset of oh, I can just get to that later. But then it was also funny because then I also felt like I had to be at my computer pretty much all day because like the off chance that somebody calls you for like the dumbest thing. Oh my god. Um, Speaking of dumb things, that actually reminded me of a story that happened between me and a coworker that I used to have. Let's call her Susan. Just because I feel the name Karen has just become like so overused, even though she also was low key kind of a Karen in certain aspects. But we'll just call her Susan, just for shits and gigs. So my managers came up to me one day and was like, "Hey, like we want you to create Teams backgrounds for the company, just something that was more like company related, so that way nobody just saw whatever was in the background and people didn't have to keep blurring out whatever was behind them. And they thought it would also look a little bit more professional. So because I was so well versed with Canva, being the fact that I was the digital marketer, I also had to create social posts, even though I have like no idea what I'm doing social wise. They tasked me with doing this team's background little project. So along with creating teams backgrounds, I also sent people like a written out instruction on how to implement it into their teams, right? So I also had a work friend, and I sent the instructions to her to follow to, one, make sure I didn't miss any steps, and two, just to see if it was idiot proof. And what I mean by idiot proof is if it was Susan proof. And so my friend looks it over and she gives me her feedback. So I send it out along with the backgrounds. And I texted my friend like 2 minutes after I sent it, being like, how much you want to bet that after like 3 minutes, Susan's going to reach out and say, I don't know how to do this. Which is wild, considering the fact that the company that we were in dealt with the IT space. It completely baffled me that she couldn't do basic things. But you know what? My intuition was right, because not even 5 fucking minutes later, from across the room, I just hear, hey, Mike, and I'm like, fuck. So I go over, and she's just like, how do I do this? And I'm like, did you read the instructions? And she goes, no, that required me to read, and I just didn't really feel like doing it. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I have to show her how to do it, and then when I get back to my desk, I go to text my friend, just because I'm annoyed. I just say, hey, like, you know what? Sometimes I feel like she just asks fucking questions just to hear herself talk. And instead of texting my friend, I accidentally messaged Susan. Oh my God, that was bad. And the worst part is, I don't even know how I ended up messaging her. I think it was because like her name was in my head, so I just went to message her because I was just so annoyed. But you know what? I actually blame Susan for this whole fucking issue, because if she had read the fucking instructions, I wouldn't have had to go over there and I wouldn't have gotten annoyed. So I still fucking blame her. Like, I feel like this whole situation could have been 100% avoided if she had just read the instructions that I was so kind enough to fucking provide for her. But I can't be the only one that this has happened to, right? Like, I'm not the only idiot out there that has done this, right? Like, you think you're trying to talk shit about somebody to somebody else, but instead you accidentally message the person that you were talking shit about. Like, have you guys ever done that? Like, what are some of your stories out there? I just gave you one of my examples of my own fuck up, so give me one of yours. But yeah, so last week was my last week at this job. And they actually got annoyed with me at the fact that I only put in 1 week's notice. But I'm like, you guys moved me to part time anyways. Plus, I'm waiting on stuff for you guys to get moving forward. And whatever I can get done immediately is only going to take me this week. And considering that I'm part time now, I don't necessarily think that you guys want to pay me for the following week anyways. Plus, my managers also told me that in April, my job would be officially let go anyway. So I'm like, okay, well, if I'm getting let go, then why do you fully need 2 weeks? Like, what would be the point in that? So quite frankly, me getting this new job could not have come at a better time, especially considering the fact that I was going to get laid off anyways. Like, honestly, I have to thank God that I got this new opportunity at this pristine moment. And I don't know what it is, call it coincidence, but seriously, the more I go to church, the more good things tend to happen to me, especially in moments that I desperately need the actual help. So I don't know how else to explain it other than the fact that I truly think that I do have somebody watching over me. So, but also last week, my company decided, or the previous company that I worked for, they decided that they were not going to renew the lease for their office. So they were going to go full-time remote. So we had a little like last day in the office party kind of a thing. So we all go out to dinner that night. And I had one of the strangest conversations with now one of my former colleagues, because there was drinking involved. I will say this. And I did not drink. And let me tell you, honest to God, there is nothing more painful than going to an event or a work event or whatever it is that you don't want to go to and you have to be stone cold sober. Like, it truly is painful. Like, 90% of the time you don't even want to go initially, and then you're just kind of forced to hang out with people that you don't want to be around, because I'm like, yo, like, I got to deal with you guys all week. So That kind of tested me. But I was able to do it sober. I did do it sober. It was tough, but I was able to manage. But my former colleague comes up to me and she just goes, "So, what's your deal?" And I thought that she was maybe going to talk to me about my job, like my new job. But no, I'm just like, "Well, what do you mean?" And she just goes, like, "What's your deal? Like, are you gay?" And I was like, "What? What? Who the fuck starts a conversation like that? I've been working with you for 2 years. Like, honest to God, where did you get that from?" And she's just like, "Well, I mean, you work out a lot. You never really talk about women in the office. You've been single the whole time." And I'm just like, holy shit. So just because I work out a lot, that means I'm gay? Like, I used to be fat. Like, excuse me for wanting to, like, be healthy. And then she just goes, "But I've also never heard you talk about women." And I'm like, well, what's there really to say? Like, am I supposed to talk derogatory about women in an office full of women? Like, I didn't understand. I didn't realize that I had to tell you about all my sexcapades during the weekends. Like, what's going on? And she just goes, "Well, also women, like, in the office don't seem to be threatened by you." I'm like, well, I hate to break it to you, but so and so is incredibly hot. And there was a little point where I was trying to hit on her for a little bit. So I don't know where you've been for the past 2 years. But you know what totally kills me is the fact is that her daughter is a fucking smoke show. And I'm just like, did you not maybe introduce me to your daughter only for the fact that you thought I was gay? Like, guaranteed. Now she's getting married. Congrats to her. But guaranteed, if she had like maybe 10 minutes alone with me, I don't think that wedding would be happening anytime soon. But what's crazy to me too is the fact that like I wasn't the only one who was single in the office. Like, sorry, my chair's squeaking. But like the company was small. It was like 20 people total. So keep that in mind here. I worked with two other guys. I mean, it was mostly women, I think, in the office, besides like me, my boss, and like two other guys. So there was only four of us in the office at a time who were men. And the other two kids who were actually younger than me, they never dated anybody. So I'm like, "Did you think that they were gay?" And she goes, "Well, they don't work out as much as you." I'm like, why does working out have anything to do with anything? Like, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand how people think. Oh my God. My grandfather used to own a bar, and he used to tell me that, like, people are the most interesting thing that you're going to work with. And he could not be any more true. Because you know what? To this day, people just never cease to amaze me in what they can say, do, or ask. Holy shit. So yeah, that was an interesting conversation I had with her. Like, part of what one of my managers used to do was in one of our like weekly teams meeting, he would make us go around the room and do like a rosebud thorn. So a rose was something that like good happened during the week, a bud is something that you're looking forward to, and a thorn is something that's like kind of a pain that you're dealing with. And what? Just because I never like mentioned, "Oh yeah, like I went out with the smoking hot like chick over the weekend." Like I never mentioned it. Like I didn't think I had to. So fucking so stupid. You know what? Maybe it's a good thing I'm breaking up with this company. Cuz it really tells you how little people knew about me at this place. And it was also kind of funny. So while we're cleaning up the office, um we lost a key to one of the file cabinets, so we couldn't get into it. So my boss actually said, "Hey, $25 Amazon gift card to anybody that can open up the cabinet." So we all kind of got in a line, and I waited for everybody else to finish because everybody was just like, "Oh, I think I could do it." But then there was me at the end of the line after lunch. Nobody opened it, so I'm like, "All right, my turn." Grab a couple paper clips, jimmy the lock open. People were like looking at me like, "How the fuck did you learn how to do that?" Just like, told you, not many people know anything about me. Plus, honestly, I kind of hated the fact that we had to be forced to do a rosebud thorn because I'm also just sitting there like, if anybody really gave a shit about any of this, like they could have just asked me, like, "Oh, hey, how was your week?" But it was a team bonding thing. But I'm just like, nobody fucking cares. Like, why are you forcing us to do all these like first day of school like trivia stuff? Let's go around the room, tell me your first name, your major, and a fun fact about yourself. Like, go fuck yourself. Nobody gives a shit. Oh my gosh. You know what though? Like if I truly wanted to be an asshole, like if I truly was a dick, considering the fact that my company switched me to part-time and now the fact that I was asked, "Oh, are you gay?" Like part of me wonders if I could have actually sued them for a discrimination lawsuit. Like what? Oh, you're only putting me to part-time and now you're laying me off because you think I'm gay? Like, you know what? Like, it's not about crying wolf. Like, unless something like that actually happens to you, you don't really know the repercussions that it might have on somebody. Like, truly, honestly, being asked that, if it was anybody else, like, I wasn't offended because I'm not gay and I don't like, really give a shit what people think. But, like, that truly is an offensive question. Like, guys, it's 2024 here. Like, aren't we over this bullshit? But you know, it's funny because everybody has like that comes to Jesus moment of that happy Easter of when this might happen. And you know what? Another come to Jesus moment I had was actually one of my roommates in college was gay. So we ended up going to a couple gay bars. And being in one of those gay bars, I now then understood what women go through in a normal ass general bar where a bunch of dudes are trying to hit on them. So that's another reason why I'm a little reserved in trying to hit on women in a bar because I'm just one of like maybe 1,000 dudes trying to hit on you. So I understand what it might be like. And it does get old, it does get tiring. It's not necessarily flattering because at a certain point, all you really are thinking about is like, oh, this person just wants to get in my pants. Well, unfortunately for all those gay dudes, they were all barking up the wrong tree coming up to me. But it kind of put it in perspective to me as to at least like what a girl might be going through on a typical Saturday night. Meanwhile, the only reason they're there is because they just might want to have fun with their friends and they don't necessarily want to be hit on by some dude in a bar. But all right, plowing ahead here. But March Madness is still going on, and as I predicted, UConn is still doing well. They ended up beating the 3 seed Illinois, and oh my God! So I told you about that box pool that I'm in for the March Madness tournament last week, and yesterday, because Saturday was when UConn played, so yesterday was a prime example of what I was talking about money jumping. So there's a guy that my family knows. He has the last digits as 7-2. And the final score of the UConn game was 77-52. And that's the thing. Again, it was just another blowout. Like UConn is just like blowing everybody out of the water. It's amazing. And it's funny because actually, like in the first half, it was a really close game. I thought it was going to end up being like UConn's like true match. And then after the half, Dan Hurley made some adjustments and they just kind of took it away. So that's something to look out for. Watch out for UConn's halftime adjustments. Um, so, anyways, so guy has 7-2. So he ended up winning like during that game. He ended up winning like $600, which we were so psyched for because we're like, holy shit. So, but then Alabama, the game after, ended up being 89-82. And he almost won that game too. But what ended up happening was with 2 seconds left, the score was 87-82. Alabama was winning. And they were doing the fouling and all that stuff, but with 2 seconds left, there should have been no more fouling. Like the game was over. And I don't remember exactly what happened. I don't remember if it was a steal or if they got it off of a foul shot or something. But at 87, with 2 seconds left, guy on Alabama gets the ball and he just randomly puts up a layup for absolutely no reason. So we ended up screwing my family's friend. And I'm like, where's the sportsmanship in this? Like, why aren't you just running out the clock? You guys are going to win the game anyways. It made no fucking sense why he decided to put up that layup. So, I don't know. I don't get it. But what God giveth, God also taketh away. Happy Easter, everybody. But so I'm also doing this episode a little bit differently. I'm deciding to go fully off script. I didn't have time to write anything out this week, so I pulled a Bill O'Reilly and I just said, fuck it, we're going live. And I figured, you know what, like, let's just see how it goes this week without a script. The only reason I tend to write out a script, honestly, is just so that way I also know how much time I'm doing, right? So let's say I write out, like, I don't know, a 35 to 3,800 word script. Then I know that that's around, like, the 25 to 30 minute mark. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like doing it a little bit more unscripted. So we'll see how it goes moving forward. But I also had a few things happen this week that I figured, oh, this would make good podcast material. So we'll see what goes on. But next week, I'm actually off from work, considering I have the week off in between jobs. So hopefully something good happens this week, and I'll have something to talk to you about next week. And on top of it, next week, I got to get my ass back in shape. After like this Easter weekend, I ate again like a fucking gavon. Oh my god, the desserts. My sister ended up making a lemon cake. And then my parents went to Costco, so then they got a cake. And oh my god, I just like packed on with the sweets. So my fat ass definitely has to get back in shape. I'm going to utilize this week to go back into my workout routine. But you know what's crazy to me? And I was just thinking about this, speaking of working out. Like, why is it that gluttony is one of the 7 deadly sins, yet the way that we all celebrate religious holidays just ends up being an overindulgence on all of the food? But, alright guys, I'll leave you on that. If I'm tired of talking, I'm sure you guys are tired of listening. So you guys know the drill. If you guys liked what you heard, feel free to share this with a friend, write me a review, give me that 5-star rating, and if you want, reach out to me at lmbemedia@gmail.com. Alright guys, I'll catch up with you next week.